Hello, everyone. This is going to be a jam-packed episode. We're going to get right to it because we are covering Kelsey has news, and then we also have 2 episodes of She-Hulk to cover. And as we're recording this is 2:15 on Saturday afternoon. And as everyone who was following the news this weekend knows, Kevin Feige stepped foot on the D23 stage at 2:15. And actually, as I'm speaking, they are doing a live musical performance of Rogers the Musical right now. So they are kicking off the Marvel announcements at D23. So let's get into Kelsey's news. Well, how it's going to work this episode is we're going to just go along, do our She-Hulk reviews, but as soon as breaking news comes up, when I can fit it in, I will fit it in and let you all know so we can get all our news done as well as our She-Hulk episodes because we have episodes 3 and 4 to cover. Kelsey, first off, how are you? And then you can get into your news. I know it's a jam-packed week. I just wanted to preface that before we start getting a floodgate of news.
I'm so excited, Dill. Oh my god, it's like we're doing a live show right now. I have a quick question though. Is it with the cast from the show or is it just like
No,
random
I believe
actors?
I don't know because I'm not actually watching a live stream. I'm watching a Twitter stream of updates. But as far as
Oh,
I know, it is I believe if not
like is
the
Adam
actors,
Pascal there?
I don't know if he's there, but like it's actual Broadway performers or like musicians doing it. It's not like Steve. It's not like Chris Evans, but
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, but
For
they're
sure
doing a
not.
live musical. All I see is live musical performance of Rogers the Musical is happening at D23. That's all I see on my news feed
Wow.
right now. I'm
That's
not there,
so
obviously.
cool.
I'm here, but I have insider people there that are letting me know all the information as it comes. So I will ask them. But this is
Wow,
just so
Dill's got
exciting.
the
This is just so
connects.
I do. I have the
Okay.
connects. I have the digits, if you will.
Wow.
All right, Kels, what is your news, though, before we get into She-Hulk and before we get into this onslaught of news? And I told my manager at work, she was like, can you come in a little early? I'm like, God, not really. I was like, I
No.
have other stuff. I told her I was working, and this is work for me. I'm not getting paid
Yeah.
for it, but I'm working.
Yeah, for sure.
Kelsey, what is your news? We have all day, so.
So we can do this all day.
Ah,
So I watched the assembled episode of Thor: Love and Thunder since that just hit Disney Plus on September
oh,
8th.
I am fascinated.
So I just have a few things to say about that. First of all, Dill, I was really interested to learn that. Oh my god, my mic is falling as I'm talking. What the
Oh,
heck
that's not
is
good.
going
Oh,
on here?
I heard that. Oh.
So sorry about that. I just had some audio issues with my mic for a split second there, but I was fascinated to learn that they actually used something brand spanking new in the cinema world to make this movie, something called the volume. And it's
Yeah.
basically like it creates a 360 like outline of the
Projection, yeah.
set. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
a projection of every single like world they were in, every outer space journey they took. It was so interesting to see
Yeah.
them on the boat that's being, pulled by the two goats. Um at some point in the movie, it was so interesting to see them in that boat with, all the colors like flying by them. It was just so interesting that like technology has taken such strides that we're able to really immerse actors in these worlds now instead of just being surrounded by blue screens and green screens. And I just found that
Yeah.
incredibly fascinating and just so exciting. I mean, that
Yeah.
must have been so cool to literally be surrounded from top to bottom by some mythical, outer space environment. So
I
that was number one.
Yeah, I just want to say I have pictures and I cannot tell if Adam Pascal is there. It's hard to tell. Like I can't make out like who that is or like
Yeah,
what these actors are. So that's all I have. But yeah,
could
that's
be.
really interesting because I think it's only the third time I've seen it. It's the first time in the MCU, but they did it for the Mandalorian for the Star Wars
Mhm.
show, and they also did it for the Batman, the newest Batman movie. And those projections I think look amazing. You've got like the shot of them standing on that building with like the orange like sunset behind them. Like that looks really good. So
Mhm.
I like this new use of technology. I hope they don't always make that the norm, just because I do like the practicality of some effects. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it did look like a combination of just the projections and practical sets, like, they would build, like, the everything that, that's tangible in the scene and just kinda have the projections around, but it was just So cool. The only set that was completely practical was New Asgard. They literally
Yeah.
built a town in the middle of nowhere. They built actual houses, actual buildings. It was
Actual
definitely,
Thanos ice cream cone. Yeah.
yes, the infinity cones that I wrote down, the ice cream shop, um, which was super cool. All the actors were super excited to film on that set just because it was like walking onto like, a whole other world. I wanted to make note of this quote that Natalie Portman said during one of her
Yeah.
interviews during it, which was, she said that she's so used to training for a character, and as a woman she's used to trying to make her body as small as possible, but while she was training to become the mighty Thor, she was training to become strong and powerful, and it was just so interesting. And I love that she made note of that, because
Yep.
we are making strides in Hollywood and in TV and film, where all body types are being recognized as
Yeah.
normal, and we're not having to just see women who are size zeros and just see
Yep.
men who are the size of Chris Hemsworth on
Yeah.
screen.
Well, and
um
we're even seeing with She-Hulk kind of the opposite of like the desirable is the big muscular, and sometimes the more like petite Tatiana Maslany adorableness is not always desirable, at least in this
yeah,
episode we're going to talk about. So it's interesting to
yeah,
talk about bodies and women's bodies, especially in the context of Marvel, considering it is such a art form built around look. I feel a lot of the
hmm
time. I mean, one of my criticisms was the idea that they said Fat Thor, nah, we got to make him a god again, and the idea of just like you can't have a chubby superhero. But yeah, that's good. That's insightful. That's good.
yeah, I really wanted to just make note of that, just because I feel like we have a very feminist themed episode along our way here, Dill. I may or may not go off on a few tangents just because there's been a lot of discourse surrounding this show, which
Yeah,
is to be expected, because
yeah,
incels do still exist even today in 2022. If one could say, arguably now more than ever, the incel community is just growing at an exponential rate. It's incredibly
yeah,
disappointing what, some of the male fans have to say about this show. So
yeah.
just,
Um,
be prepared for
yeah,
that.
and there's obviously fairness that comes with like criticizing the actual writing sometimes. Like sometimes dialogue doesn't seem maybe unnatural, maybe, or like just not liking some of the performances. Like that's fine, but it's like some criticisms seem to be coming from a place of just because it's a woman. And like we'll talk about one
Mhm.
big thing that kind of broke the internet being like a certain scene that like we've seen in Marvel before. It's just this is the first time we've seen a woman doing it, and it's like so it was okay when Star Lord did it. It was okay. Okay, yeah,
Mm.
all right. So we'll talk about it, but yeah,
Yeah. Oh my God, Dill. We have so much to talk about. And then the last little fun fact tidbit of information that I got from watching the assembled episode was actually that the goats in the movie had names. I don't know if
oh
you
boy,
knew this, Dill,
I did
but
not.
I found this out watching the assembled episode, and their names are Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder. And
Toot
those are
Gnasher and
the,
Tooth Grinder.
I don't know
Wow.
which one's which, but those are the names of the goats.
Yeah,
And
I don't know if that has any symbolism or if that's just what goats do. If they, I don't know. If, something with their teeth, I have no idea. But
neither do I.
yeah. So is that it for the assembled episode?
That's all that I
Okay.
had to say. That's,
Um, Yeah, just D23 updates. What I got right now before we head into She-Hulk, they just
sure.
started presenting Black Panther, Wakanda Forever stuff. Apparently, there's an exclusive look only for people who are at the expo, which I understand. Ryan Coogler did confirm, though, he's still in the editing room and he's still cutting together the film, which could be a good sign, meaning they're taking their time and really trying to like make it perfect, or it could be a bad sign, the fact that they are scrambling to get it together this close to the deadline. They still have about 2 months. I've talked about
Wow.
this from the beginning. The rewrites had me nervous, only because it's like I would rather, if you have to rewrite the script over the passing of a lead character, I wish they would just wait till it's ready to then announce a release date. And I think putting a release date on it kind of like makes it almost feel like it has to be a little rushed. So that's my only worry. But the trailer looked freaking awesome. So
Yeah.
that's all the news I have right now. So let's dive into She-Hulk. And then as soon as I get more news, I will share. I'm going to try to wait till a few news topics like roll in and then like maybe discuss them all at once. But unless there's something huge, like if we get a Fantastic Four name drop, I will stop the show. But let's get into She-Hulk episode 3. Episode 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we last left off with Tim Roth, Abomination. What's his actual name? Shoot, why am I?
Emil Blonsky.
Emil Blonsky supposedly breaking from prison to go fight Wong and Shang-Chi.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes,
and that's where
yes.
we kind of left off. So take us away, Kels.
All right, so episode 3 is titled "The People vs. Emil Blonsky," and
Yeah,
here's my
may
little
as well be called the
summary.
People versus Megan Thee Stallion because that's all Twitter seems to make it. So anyway, carry on.
Exactly. Jennifer Walter works to free Emil Blonsky while juggling rumors and the media's depiction of her. Meanwhile, Pug takes a case defending Dennis from a shapeshifter pretending to be Megan the Stallion.
Nice. So, yeah, and I think this is where we're kind of seeing the rhythm and groove of this show in terms of like, this is a sitcom, and I know a lot of people have been like, but what's the overarching story? What's the overarching like character development? I think there is some, but I think it's mostly like a episode by episode. Like you can just turn it on, and like, yes, there's connectivity between some of them, but like, it seems like episode 4 and episode 3 like can kind of stand alone on their own as almost like just
Mm-hmm.
another episode in a sitcom. Obviously, like Friends, The Office, there are overarching storylines, especially in the romances. But I feel like every
Yeah.
episode on their own is kind of standalone. I think that's what the show is setting up, and why
Yeah.
some people aren't responding to it necessarily right away is because it's not kind of like this one overarching story. It's more just like the day in life of this lawyer as the She-Hulk, trying to balance that, but also just like take on these different cases, and each episode's a new case. I kind of like that. So I dug this one, but we'll talk more about it.
Yeah,
Yep.
Dill. I was, gonna really talk about this when, especially when it came to episode 4, because that one is the one where I felt it really feels like it is taking on a more like procedural, format, a very episodic, like your Law and Order SVU, your NCIS,
Yeah.
shows like that, shows that showcase, lawyers and
Mhm.
detectives and things like that. So I feel like it's taking on more of that kind of feel, which I like. It's
Yep.
different. I feel like people's complaints, in the past with our past MCU shows is that they're just prolonged movies, where this one really is starting to feel like a
Episodic.
TV show.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I kind of like that, and I do think the comedy itself sometimes it doesn't land, but like I like how they're just trying
Sure.
to just give us a sitcom. Like we're
Hmm.
kind of done now with like setting up the huge big event. Like I feel like the movies can kind of do that now. Like they don't need to like set up the big stuff. Obviously, WandaVision needed to set up Multiverse of Madness, but I feel like like Moon Knight was so deep, and I'm blanking on like all the other shows at the moment, but like a lot of these
Falcon
shows
and the
have been
Winter
so
Soldier,
yeah, like are very
Hawkeye.
deep. Like Falcon and the Winter Soldier is like a response to like all the Black Lives Matter stuff, and like I get all that, but like
Yeah.
now it seems like okay, we have the TV medium. Let's like have some more fun with it instead of trying to tell these like you said prolonged extended movies.
And also, all the shows that we got in the beginning of last year were directly coming off of Endgame. Obviously,
Right.
they all had to pertain to what those characters, where those characters are at now,
Yes.
after this catastrophic life-changing event, you know what I mean? So now
Hmm.
we're getting into a phase where it's like, okay, not everything has to be, we don't have to keep bringing up Endgame. We don't have to keep talking about Thanos. Like that's in the past now. We're moving on to different
Yeah.
storylines, different villains, all that jazz. So let's jump right into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
So we start off episode 3, just getting our Marvel intro, classic, nothing crazy there. And we're at the jail where Emil is being kept. And Jennifer is, berating him about the fact that he's been, seen breaking out of prison and competing in this, underground
Yeah.
fight club, whatever it is. And Emil says he claims that he was forced out of the jail by a master of the mythic arts, a sorcerer supreme, and it
And we
cuts
all know.
to Wong, obviously.
Yeah.
And Nikki, her paralegal, tracks down Wong. She's like, there's no other name. It's literally just Wong, like Beyonce or Adele or Cher, classic Doctor Strange callback. And she was able to track him by sending him a thirst trap, which was her and a bunch of books. So that got Wong's attention. Now we know the way to Wong's heart.
Yeah,
We should
we're
have
learning.
known.
We're learning a lot about like Wong's like social life and his romantic life in this
Yes.
episode, and like I don't know if you can see in the actual stream we're doing up there in the top left corner of what the stream I titled it is Wong and Madison forever, because oh
I
man,
see,
do I
yeah.
ship it, and we'll get there.
Wow,
But, like, wow,
wow.
and all of Twitter is too. I love it. But Wong has been the highlight of the show for me, and I love how She-Hulk addresses it. I know we're jumping to episode 4 right now for a second, but she addresses it in episode 4. She's like, "Yeah, no, we know you love him. Like that's it's assumed." Yeah,
She actually addresses it right now, Jill. See, segued and you didn't even realize you were doing it. She addresses it right now and she's like, I know you really like Wong, but you know what? Don't get used to it. It's not going to be a thing where it's like a cameo every episode, except like with Bruce and with Emil and also with Wong. But please don't forget whose show it actually is, which is mine.
Yep, and we know Daredevil's coming, so we know there's going to be more cameos, of course. So,
oh man, I'm so excited. So then we get into this whole media montage. There's a bunch of reporters, talking about the quote unquote She-Hulk, reporting all these like quote unquote facts about Jennifer Walters. There's all this literal discourse, which is like a direct parody of what is actually surrounding this show in real life. There's these videos, there's these TikTokers, all of these men just like jumping onto the internet being like, what's with all these female heroes now? And I'm like, this is like literally like they commented on what's happening. It's like they couldn't have done it any better. Like they predicted it almost.
Because that's like it's so real. Like, and I know a lot of people are like, I think it's just a little over exaggerated. I'm like, well, you're lucky because you don't look in those circles, but like those circles exist. Like we as more liberal thinking, pop culture consumers, like our Twitter feeds, every Twitter feed is different depending on the person. So I'm not going to see as much of that. But if you look on like some of the deep like Reddit stuff and like all of that's out there, and I'm sure there are people who watch our show who are like, oh, these guys going on and on about how like men are so awful to women. Like not all. There's a great amount of the fan base that is accepting, but there's so much of it that's not, and sometimes they're a little less vocal in the circles we are used to seeing. But it's still out there, and as Marvel, like they see it all. We don't, but they do, and I think that's important, and why I'm glad they're hitting on this.
Yeah, Dill, you bring up a really good point, which is the fact that your social media feed is just an echo chamber of all your ideas and beliefs and people that agree with you. So just keep that in mind as you consume things like TikTok and Twitter. If you're in the wrong circles, maybe you should, self-reflect on what's going on up here.
Yeah.
And I just hope that like I feel like maybe most of the men who weren't completely sold on the show from the beginning really bailed out after this episode. Cough cough, the post-credit scene, which seemed to drive a lot of people mad, but we'll get there when we'll get there. I just hope that they watched this sequence and just realized that you guys are predictable. None of you have had an original thought since like literally ever. Like the predictability here is just unmatched. Like the show is directly calling you out. Like it's just nuts. So I wrote down some of the comments that I saw on the screen, which was no more female superheroes, please. Why everything got to be female now? We have a hashtag Me Too movement. Now all the male heroes are gone. These are just like real things that we hear. Like take the word superhero out of these comments, and these are actual comments that you can find pertaining to just like women in general.
Like, now all the male superheroes are gone, but like your two big deaths in Avengers Endgame, one was a male and one was Black Widow. So like that's half of the big important monumental Avengers deaths in that movie. I'm like, how does that make sense?
No, yeah. And then we do have one guy who seems to be a fan of She-Hulk, but he totally ruins it by saying, I'd smash, which is haha, get it, smash. Because the Hulk, but also like that's not the point. Like you don't have to like a woman, like a hello grammar, like a woman, like a woman being sexually attractive to you shouldn't deem whether or not you can like tolerate her in existence. Like you should just be able to respect women, even the women that you're not sexually attracted to, which is all things that I feel like need to just be pointed out. to the
Yeah, no,
world because
I'm
I'm
glad, and that's
frustrated,
why I'm not
Dill.
chiming in because like this show is very much more your experience than mine, and I love that. I love that this is a show where you can speak of just like personal experience as a woman, being able to reflect on this. Because as a man, like I can say, yeah, no, that's shitty men behavior, but I haven't lived that other side of the coin, and I haven't been able to experience that
Yeah.
head first. And it sucks because like I wish I had that insight and experience, but it's also fortunate because it is such a terrible way of living sometimes, having all these targeted attacks toward you. Like I can't fathom it, and I'm glad this show is there to do that. And like I said, past episodes, this should not be the first show to say, hey, you should stop being shitty to women. Like you should have stopped being shitty to women beforehand, but this definitely reinforces the fact and reminds people. It's a good reminder. It should not
Yeah,
be the
for
first
sure.
place of teaching. Like educate yourself first, but then use this as a way to kind of confirm those beliefs.
So he did have some funny comments on the side of his video, his live stream, whatever he was doing. So I did write down some of those, and one was, "Why is everyone talking about this fake, super jolly green giant looking chick? Wish she." One of the comments said, "Wish she used her platform to stand up to endangered lemurs." Like, wish, like what? And then another
Yeah,
one
that covers
was,
the weird side of the internet that doesn't really have an anti-feminist remark, but doesn't have anything really insightful to say, but just has something weird to
yeah,
say, which is kind of
exactly.
endearing. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
like whatever, sure,
All
stand up for what
right,
you believe
sure.
in.
Endangered
Lemurs,
endangered lemurs. Shout out to you
fine. Yeah,
guys. Is it weird that I like her better green?
I have
Yes.
news. I'm sorry. This is the first
No,
big news
please
drop.
go
So,
go ahead,
it
Dill.
is. I don't know if it has been confirmed, but it is now, and that is that Anthony Ramos from Hamilton fame, from In the Heights fame, will be playing the Hood in Ironheart. We are at the Ironheart segment of
Oh,
playing the Hood. I do not know anything about this character, but Anthony Ramos will be playing the Hood. That is confirmed now in speech, in writing. Anthony Ramos as the Hood. That's your update. Proceed. Well, any thoughts on that?
I mean, very fun. I feel
Yeah,
like we heard
very fun.
about this a minute a
We
minute
heard that
ago.
he was joining the MCU and possibly Ironheart. I don't know if it was confirmed though what character,
That he
and I
was
don't
gonna
know
be
if
the
Kevin
hood.
Feige even like outwardly said it. So there you go. That's your confirmation for it. The Hood, played by Anthony Ramos. I think some people were also wondering like, is he going to be Doctor Doom? I think that was also kind of speculated, and this shows that he is not, unless the
Mm.
Hood is Doctor Doom. Unless I'm just not reading those comics. But yeah, and it also says Ironheart explores the battle between magic and tech, which I feels like is most MCU movies, but okay, great.
Cool. Good
Yep.
to know. So now we have this whole B plot in this episode, Dill, which is the trial of Dennis versus Megan the Stallion, apparently. So Dennis needs a lawyer because he needs to sue a shapeshifter he has spent thousands of dollars on because he believed it was Megan the Stallion. This light elf from New Asgard, was taking the form of Meg the Stallion. And now he's out $175,000. So Mr. Holloway, I think his name is something
I don't
like
know.
that.
Just an
Yeah,
FYI, Quantum Mania just entered the stage, so we're gonna get news on that in just a bit. Anyway,
Oh,
proceed.
cool, cool, cool. So Jennifer Walters' boss calls her in and is like, "Hey, I need you to, defend. This is Dennis is going to be your next client." And Dennis is like, "No, I don't want Jennifer Walters to defend me because, we don't like each other." So
Right.
then he calls in someone else who works for the Superhuman Law Division, which is Renee Elise Goldsberry as Mallory Book.
Wow, what a good segue from Anthony Ramos to Renee Elise Goldsberry. Because like
Two
Hamilton,
Hamilton
yeah.
actors.
I hope
Wow.
we're satisfied because I am.
I wouldn't I wonder if Disney's just trying to collect them all. We're gonna see
Well, I
maybe
mean, they already
Chris
have Hamilton, so
Jackson.
they've already got them all. It's just, and
I mean,
Lin-Manuel
that's
Miranda
true.
writes
That's
every
true.
song for every Disney movie now, so like they have them all. Imagine if they bring Lin into the MCU, just like that would be crazy.
Who? Who'd you say?
Lin,
Oh.
like
Oh
writing a
my God.
song for like
I
Ant-Man, just
could
like, no, I'm really small, and no, I'm kidding.
I
Eh,
could not imagine Lynn in the MCU. Not at all, actually.
hey, now that you said it, we're gonna get D23 news that Lin is there because Lin was there to tease Little Mermaid yesterday because he's writing new songs
Yes.
for that. So
Yes, I
you know,
did hear that. But Dennis doesn't want to be represented by Mallory Book either because in his eyes she's too attractive and he she could possibly be his future fiance. So he doesn't want her getting wrapped up in his like male problems right
I
now.
hate this character, and I'm
He's
glad they're
just
just making him
gross.
as gross as possible. Yeah, like, and the thing is, he's not like villainous gross in the fact that he's not like he's no threat. That's what he makes him even worse. Is like he talks such a bad talk, but he walks an even worse walk. And I think that's the worst part about him. And
I have plenty to say about Dennis later.
Oh,
We'll get to him, Dill.
Can't
So
wait.
Pug, the nice man who greeted Jennifer Walters when she first started with a lovely gift basket and a map to the best bathroom for pooping, takes on Dennis's case. And you know what? I'll just say it right now. Live, laugh, love Pug, Dill. I love Pug.
Great. Pug's great.
I ship Pug. I didn't mean I ship Pug. I stand Pug. That's what I meant to say.
You ship yourself with Pug.
I for sure ship myself with Pug. But I got my slang mixed up. I meant to say I stand Pug.
I got you.
So then Wong comes in and he confesses to Jennifer that all he needed was a worthy opponent for his training to becoming the next Sorcerer Supreme, and that's why he had to break Emil out, fight him at the Red Daggers Club, and put him back in jail. And they're coming up with some ideas to get to help Emil's case in this, and Wong says, "Well, I'm not erasing everyone's memory again." And I guess they're referring to the
Spider-Man.
Winter Solstice party.
I was singing Spider-Man No Way Home. Right?
Right. Because that's what happened at the end of that movie. Everyone got their memory erased to forget that it was Peter Parker.
Peter Parker. I love how you've only watched that movie once and everyone eats that up like it's popcorn and has watched it like 7,000 times.
I asked you if you wanted to see it again, but I totally get it.
Because that's the thing is I didn't need to take time to go see it again when I'd heard there's 2 extra minutes. And I heard what those extra minutes are. There's a little bit of extra banter between the 3 Spider-Men. There's one extra scene at the end instead of the Doctor Strange post-credit scene. It's a post-credit scene of Betty going through the high school great memories, and in every memory, Peter's face is either blocked or missing or something because he's erased from everyone's memories. That's it. Yeah, it's sad, but it's also like imagine leaving that theater on such a high, seeing the 3 Spider-Men, then that's the post-credit scene. It's a little bit melancholy.
Sure.
But that movie ends a little melancholy, and that's what I like about that movie. I love the ending of that movie. So, yeah. But aside from that, I heard there's very little else. Very little else. And speaking of very little else, I have a little bit of news. Just that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania directly links with Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. So that'll lead directly into it, kind of how Thor Ragnarok directly led into Avengers: Infinity War. So that's just something to think about because we know Kang's going to be in Quantumania. So, yep.
Nice. So then Pug and Dennis sit down. They start having a meeting discussing his case. And then the light elf impersonates Dennis coming back into the office and saying, "Hey, I think I'm going to drop the case actually." And I knew that it was her from the beginning, but it definitely took Pug a second. It wasn't until the real Dennis called him on the phone that he realized that he was talking to the light elf. And as she leaves the office, she impersonates Pug saying, "I love harassing women in the workplace." And she turns around, comes back into her normal form, turns around and says, "Let that be a warning." And all of Pug's female coworkers are looking at him like, "Oh my God, that's disgusting. You actually think that?" And he's like, "I don't. Come on, you guys know me." And it's just the way he said that line. I was like, this guy's the best. I love him.
I've got to say, I love the shape-shifting elf. I think that's such a fun twist. We've seen it with Loki a little bit, but I just love that. It creates a fun dynamic, especially with the law side of things and being able kind of that false false accusation type thing, or lying under oath type thing, and just the different hijinks that come about her playing all these different people in the court case and kind of twisting it her way. I think that's a fun villain, but especially for a sitcom, because you can't make a whole movie centered around a type of villain like that. But I think for one episode it works because it creates a really tough obstacle to overcome. The fact that she can literally appear as anyone at any time, and you don't know who you're spilling the secrets to. You don't know who's controlling your destiny and your fate. And confirmation, Randall Park returning as Jimmy Woo in Ant-Man the Lost Quantumania. He's back.
Hell yeah.
Love to see that. Love to see
Love Jimmy Woo.
All right.
Oh, man. So now we're at the trial of the people versus Emil Blonsky. And basically what the court wants to deem, what the purpose of this trial is to see whether or not Emil is actually reformed. But based off of the fact that he had just broken out of prison, they're assuming that this is going to go by rather quickly and that he has in fact not changed at all since being sent to prison. But Emil says that he is a reformed man, and he even has his 7 soulmates from the prison pen pal program. Say that 5 times fast. Supporting him there that day. They all have their own names. I didn't write them down. I know one's name is Yvonne. There's a Nicolette in there, a Ruth maybe, but they're all there to support him from the sidelines. And then we have a slew of people, I'm assuming in the prison system somehow, coming to testify on Emil's behalf. And they say that, you know, he taught some of the prisoners how to read. He led meditation and yoga classes for the prisoners. He helped even a security guard named Carl out of a bad marriage. And then Wong shows up to clear the air. He says that even though, you know, he allowed Emil to escape out of prison, they did do this fight together. He offered him, you know, sanctuary in Montage. He was going to say, hey, you can come live here in peace. But Emil chose to go back to his prison sentence and, you know, do the right thing.
I'm honestly, I'll just say one thing. I'm honestly surprised though that this didn't get Wong in some trouble, because like Wong orchestrated a prison break, and like Wong literally was gonna try to hide this prisoner. Like I would think a lot of people would be like, Wong, you're on trial, but also like it's Wong. He's a sorcerer supreme, and he's kind of like above that. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting how Wong kind of just gets away with it, hands free, gets to go home and just watch Sopranos and This Is Us at the end of the day. But yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Well, they do touch on that briefly, but he kind of just opens a portal and dips.
It's still just brushed off. Yeah, it's also addressed, I believe, by Jen. Who's like, yo, you should be under a lot more fire, but like, I feel like the actual like authorities aren't like, yo, get this man under handcuffs. And even then, how can you with the portals, you know?
I feel like, Dill, if you take part in saving half of the universe, I feel like you should get a free pass. At least one, you know? Like, he was part of the reason why half the population was able to, you know, reunite. So I feel like maybe they're just going to give him a freebie for this one. Because he did, he returned him back to jail.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good point.
So now we cut to Dennis's trial. We find out that the light elf's name is Runa. I did look her up in my Marvel encyclopedia to see if she was at all like a real person from the comics, but I didn't see anything on her. And Runa's lawyer just wants all the charges dropped. She says that she has diplomatic immunity because she is, you know, some government official's family member at New Asgard. So she has diplomatic immunity to be using her powers. But since the judge says since this isn't New Asgard, she does not have the diplomatic immunity that was stated. And, you know, Runa starts to plead her own case. She says, but New Asgard is not a place, it's a people. And he's like, I'm going to stop you there. Thor's inspirational speeches do not have any like merit here. You can't use that to defend your case. So then essentially all Pug has to do is prove that Dennis is delusional enough to believe that he was in a relationship with Meg the Stallion, because that's the one thing the judge is having a hard time wrapping his head around. It's like, really? But you honest to God thought you were in a relationship with Megan the Stallion? It's not even Megan the Stallion. It's the Stallion.
Not just like the Stallion. Yeah, like not just a stallion. Not one stallion.
She's not just any run-of-the-mill stallion. She is the stallion.
The stallion.
So this is when Runa like throws her entire case out the door, impersonates the judge, and, you know, obviously is gonna get into a lot of trouble. So then we cut back to the real trial, the main focus of this episode, where Emil showcases that he can transform into the Abomination and still be under complete control. He's essentially still Emil. He just looks like the Abomination. Yeah. And, you know, Jennifer is able to use this to her benefit, because she's like, look, even though he was able to transform into this like unstoppable monster, he still chose to stay in his cell. He chose not to hurt anyone, and therefore he should be free to go on parole. So then we cut to the bar. with Nikki, and the rumors are still spiraling out of control. There's even a rumor now that she's pregnant with Emil's baby, and they're having this like little baby abomination Hulk hybrid thing, whatever. So Pug's there, and he sits down with the two women and is like, "How did you guys work with Dennis? He's absolutely insufferable. He's just like the worst type of human being." And Jen's like, "Oh, well," Nikki says something along the lines of like, "Oh, well, you know, I had to kill him mentally. That was the only thing that really kept me going, was the thought of me murdering him in my mind." And Jen's like, "But he still thought that he had a crush on her. The man is absolutely delusional." And Pug is like, "Oh my God, would you be willing to say that under oath? That might really help my case here." And this is when I just like to make the point of like, I feel like people like to watch a character like Dennis and they're like, "Oh, yeah, but this is, you know, the dramatization of like the worst of the worst. Like, not all men are like Dennis." Like, blah, 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 blah. I'm here to tell you that Dennis is real. Dennis exists. And even though this is a comedy, so yes, a little bit of his lines and his persona are heightened a little bit for comedic effect. I'm just letting you know that he's very much real. This isn't a caricature. This isn't something a woman made up. Like, this character comes from reality. Like, a woman had to have met a dentist at once in her life in order to write this character. Like, this isn't some imaginary person. Like, this is a real person that, you know, women have to deal with, especially in their work life. I actually started keeping a note tab in my notes, tracking down all the things men have said to me. I don't even work an office job. I'm a server at a restaurant. Don't even think that this has to.
Are you gonna say them all right now? I'd love
No,
to
I'm
know
gonna
some of them.
I'm gonna
Okay,
say them, Dill.
great.
I
I'd love to
only
know.
have 3.
Yeah. After you
Oh,
do that, I have some news, but like I'd love to hear this first because I think this is much more important and prevalent. Yeah.
thank you. So just to give you an idea of just a little crumb of what women have to deal with when they're just at their jobs, just in life. The number one comment I get from guys that I work with is, "You should smile more." Men, stop saying that to women. I'll let you know why. I think you think you're like complimenting us in a way or trying to put us in a good mood. You're not. Because what you're saying is that your exterior and the way that you look is the only thing that has value. So therefore you should try to look your best. You should smile all the time. That's just not the case. When I'm at work and I'm dealing with all kinds of idiots, I don't want to smile all the
Yeah.
time.
And
Most of those. Go ahead, Dill.
well, no, I mean I don't want to. I obviously don't have
No,
any
no, no.
relatability. I'm
I'm
just
not
saying.
going to make this a thing of like you're interrupting
No.
me. No,
But
go
like
ahead.
Inside Out talks about the fact that you also have to allow yourself to express other emotions too. You can't just be happy all the time because that's infectious as well. Like, or infecting
Right.
as well, not infectious, but like that could damage you as well. Trying to be, happy all the time.
It just stems from this whole thing of like women have to be kind and nurturing all the time, where men are able to, practice regular human emotions at any point in the day. It's like, no, stop telling women to smile more. It's absolutely infuriating. It only makes me angrier than I already was. Another comment I got from a man at work was, "You're the perfect size to cuddle with." That's inappropriate. Don't
Yeah,
say
like
that.
what? Yeah, like I don't care. Like if you're great to cuddle with, you're great to cuddle with. It doesn't matter what size you are. I mean, people are just naturally good cuddlers. People can be tiny and petite and terrible cuddlers. People can be huge and awful cuddlers. I don't care. Like I
And
love
also,
cuddling. Period. I'll cuddle with anyone. I'll cuddle with this little Jon Snow pop figure if I have to.
aw.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's just like we're at work. Keep comments like that to yourself. That's just not something I needed to hear. It's, again, you think you're complimenting us, but it's just so weird and gross, bro. And last but not least, a man said to me, "You can't look at me while we're working. I get distracted." Again, just
A
out here trying
coworker
to.
said that.
A coworker said that to me. Um, Again, you
I don't
think
have anything to say about that.
you
I'd
think
like
it's a
to know what.
compliment. I am just trying to do my job. If you're watching on video right now, you can see I'm wearing no makeup. I have a bun in my hair. I'm sweating in my apartment. bedroom
Oh,
right now.
why
This
don't you
is
have the
what
air on? Have the air conditioning
because
on.
I don't want to have bad air
I have the
air
air conditioning on. I don't
quality,
care.
sound quality, I mean. But this is what I look like at work, right?
Yeah.
I'm just out here. I'm just like a living, breathing person. I don't deserve to be like treated this way. That's just all I have to say. So, for those of you who think that like Dennis is just a made up thing, he's not.
No,
Dennis is real, and I
it's a
work with
real. It might be.
Dennises.
Yeah, it's not even heightened either. Like it might be a heightened version than like your everyday just casual run of the mill, but like because it is an amalgamation of all of it all at once, which is
Yeah,
why some people might see it as like a little bit extreme, but like it's real.
sure.
Speaking of what's real,
Go ahead, Dill.
I got news. I got news.
Oh my god, I'm nervous.
Werewolf by Night is confirmed. We knew this was gonna kind of happen. Like there have been rumblings about Werewolf by Night, but we have details. Michael Giacchino, who is a composer, he's composed some great works of music for the MCU. This is his directorial debut. He's directing this series, so good on him. Michael
Oh
Giacchino, love
my.
Michael Giacchino. He's also, for those who don't know him outside the MCU, he wrote the very famous music for Up. Love that.
Yeah, yeah,
Gael
yeah.
Garcia Bernal and Laura Donnelly will be the leads of Werewolf by Night. There was a trailer that dropped, so we'll watch it after this and talk about it next week, obviously. But there was a trailer that dropped, but it does say in the description that Werewolf by Night is a black and white retro horror mystery. So, like, Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness was supposed to be our first horror movie until Kevin Feige kind of toned it down for PG-13. But this is going to be our first, like, legit horror mystery series. And we got a poster, so let me show you this poster. There's the poster. It's a werewolf, and it looks so
Whoa.
cool. This is the shit I am excited to see. And we also just got a first teaser trailer for Secret Invasion, which we're also going to talk about next week once we watch it. So we'll watch all these trailers after and talk about it next week, but I will be letting you know all the news there. Don Cheadle is now talking about Secret Invasion and Armor Wars. But yeah, the Werewolf by Night stuff, very exciting. Michael Giacchino, good for you. Welcome to the game. We're
Wow.
excited to have you. Yeah, but we're gonna get some Secret Invasion and Armor Wars news soon. But that is the Werewolf by Night news. I mean, how do you feel about that? First off, just a horror black and white retro series.
Well, I'm a big fan of Michael Giacchino, Dill,
Yeah.
first and foremost. And I
Oh, I'm
love
sorry. It's not a series. I think it is a special. It says it is a special, which means it might be its own one-off thing. That's very cool. So it's not a series. It's a one-off Disney Plus special for Marvel. That's very cool.
Wow. I like it. I like new characters. I like new themes and new genres that Marvel stretches out into. I'm looking forward to it. I'm already intrigued. It sounds infinitely fascinating.
Yes.
So with Jennifer Walters on the stand, talking about how absolutely delusional and deranged Dennis is, Pug's actually able to win the case. So the Runa has to go to jail for impersonating the judge, and Meg the Stallion is in the audience. She's like, "Yeah, there can only be one Meg the Stallion,
Love it.
absolutely."
Also, Werewolf by Night, October 7th. So we're getting it in like a month.
Ooh, a little
Yeah.
fun like
Yeah.
Halloweeny
Yeah.
special. I love that.
Yeah.
Just trying to
Sorry,
find the right word
it's
for it.
funny because like I'm listening to you, but I'm also looking at this like every like 30 seconds. So I'm not ignoring you, but I'm just like I'm
No,
bouncing
I
back
know,
and forth.
Dill.
It's just all so much information to take in at once, and I'm very excited. But I'm also like I'm watching Maria Hill just on my screen talking in Secret Invasion. I'm like, we're getting more Maria
Nice.
Hill. It's so exciting. It's so exciting to be a Marvel fan, but also very very overwhelming, especially when they're not paying their visual effects department. But we'll talk about that another time. Let's keep going.
So while Jennifer, Pug, and Dennis are walking out of the courtroom, Dennis actually has one good idea. I'll give him that. He says that I wish there were only a way to remove her powers so that, she couldn't affect anyone else. She couldn't, scam anyone else out of giving her, $175,000 worth of things. And that gives Jennifer Walters an idea. And so we cut back to Emil. The court determines that Emil can go on parole, deeming that he wear a device that prevents him from turning into the abomination. And
I'm
that
listening. I just need to blow my nose, so I'm going to turn my camera off, but I'm listening.
Oh, okay. And so he's not allowed to change into abomination anymore. And in order to, really guarantee this, he's going to wear a device that prevents him from doing that. So in order to try to take the narrative into her own hands, which has Nikki has been, you know, advising Jennifer to do when it comes to the media and all these rumors and all this stuff. She gives a TV interview where they essentially only ask her about where she got her name, She-Hulk, which was some random guy on the news. And also they say, okay, great. And now when we come back, we're going to talk, the She-Hulk's going to share about her diet and exercise, which I feel like is a nice little dig at, I feel like the most common question that the female identifying actors got, especially when they're part of the MCU or any superhero action movie in general. I feel like the number one question they get from interviewers is, "Oh, what'd you do to get in shape for this role? What was your diet like?" And there's some very funny interviews of like Scarlett Johansson calling out an interviewer, Anne Hathaway calling out an interviewer when she played Catwoman. All this fantastic stuff. I just feel like it was a nice dig at what the real life Marvel actors have to go through. So I really appreciated that moment. And then I'm assuming she's leaving the interview with the news station. She is attacked by a group of men. They're all wielding some different kind of weapon. Jennifer asks, did you jump on an Asgardian construction worker? What's going on? And they're kind of like, oh yeah, we did. So after a moment of really genuinely freaking out, Jennifer realizes that, oh, I'm able to transform into a Hulk. I'm gonna do that now. Kicks all their asses, sends them packing. One of them tries to stab her with some sort of syringe, some sort of hold for dirt bikes on my street as per usual. Some sort of syringe, some needle type instrument. They tried to penetrate her skin with it, but since she's a Hulk, her skin is impenetrable, and they're thrown back into their van. And they get away. So while these guys are getting away, one of the main guy, the leader, I'm assuming, turns around and asks. He goes like, "Oh, Thunderball, did you get it?" And he goes, "No. Like when she transformed into the Hulk, like I couldn't, break through her skin. So whatever they were trying to get, a sample of her DNA, her blood, anything along those lines, they weren't able to." And as they drive away, he says, "Boss is gonna be mad." And I have some things to say about that whole sequence, but I'll let you know right after we briefly talk about the post-credit scene, which is just a fun little twerking moment with Megan Thee Stallion. And people were up in arms about this moment. I saw a lot of people comparing this scene to the Avengers, like, the iconic shot of them standing in the middle of New York. And they were like, how did we go from this to now Jennifer Walters twerking with Megan Thee Stallion? It's like, it's a comedy. It's a sitcom.
Right.
It was to make you do the little giggles,
Right.
It's not like what that moment in that movie isn't even that serious. If you were going to compare it to any moment, I feel like maybe compare it to like one of the deaths, maybe Tony sacrificing himself in Endgame, maybe Natasha's big sacrifice in Endgame. You picked like a very random shot to compare it to be like, the MCU's going to shit now because now we got twerking. It's like, and also,
and the thing I brought up earlier.
Yes.
How does Guardians of the Galaxy end? Anyone want to remind me on like the big fight? Oh wait, it's a dance off. So how is this? Now I get it. Everyone loves Star-Lord. Everyone, because it's a comedy. But this is also a comedy. Like people saying, well, that was a comedy, so he's allowed to dance. How is him dancing in that any different than this? Yes, it's twerking, which might be a little bit more grotesque because you're using your hips. But there was a time when doing the Charleston was provocative. Like we have to remember that in decades from now, twerking is going to just be, oh yeah, that dance move from the 2010s or whatever. Like, I don't see how people are like, oh, twerking in the MCU, get it out of my sights. It's like, A, this is a comedy. B, that is what Megan Thee Stallion does. And you're getting a big star. This was probably a big get from Marvel because there's probably going to be fans who come into it, just like Harry Styles brought people in to see Eternals. This is big to have Megan Thee Stallion here. She may not be a celebrity to you, old people, but she's a celebrity to this young generation, and people are excited to see her. And that's what she does. She twerks. you know, and that's the dance move now. You may not like that dance move, but that is what a dance move is now. That may be a turn off to some people, but 10 decades from now, who knows what it's going to be like? Like nowadays, people dancing in partners was a big thing once upon a time, like
Mm-hmm.
touching one another. And now look how we've evolved. We have Dancing with the Stars where they're touching each other, lifting each other, all this stuff. It's like, how are you going to criticize twerking when Star-Lord dances? When in Morbius there was a whole dance scene with Matt Smith. Hold on, sorry. God, I had phlegm in my
Excuse
throat
you.
because I'm just
Oh.
complaining so much. Because it's like
It's
people
sickening.
pick people pick and choose the worst times to be mad at things when we've seen it. Sorry, I have such a frog in my throat. Just talk because I need to just take a breath.
Sure. Well, Dill, what I liked about what you said at the beginning of this podcast was that the
Sorry.
first thing that came to mind for me was the fact that Chris Evans' butt became a whole bit. It's a whole meme now because of the America's ass thing. Like we were able to take that for what it was, a joke. But then when a woman makes the same joke about the same body part, a body part that we all have, a butt, it's a big there's drama. It's, oh my god, I can't believe that the MCU is coming to this. Like how could we get here? Like we made the same joke in Endgame about a male actor's butt, and now that it's about a female actor's
Yeah,
butt,
exactly.
we
Captain
can't make
America's
the same.
ass is like
It's
the
not funny.
funniest
It's
joke
not
ever,
funny.
but now it's like grotesque, and I don't understand it. And obviously, there could also be an element of race playing in this. I'm not calling people racist if they didn't like this episode. Like, you can not like this episode because I don't think the writing is top notch. I don't think the visual effects look good, but like, also maybe it's because it's a black woman. Just saying, like, look at yourself. Like, why are you criticizing this scene when
Yeah.
you don't criticize the others? I'm saying you can criticize the scene if this is just off-putting to you, but then you can't go ahead and praise Star-Lord for dancing or Matt Smith for dancing in Morbius. Like,
Mhm.
there's an inconsistency. The inconsistency is the problem. It's choosing to complain about something that you once praised, and that's
Yeah.
my thing. It's like you can criticize it, but if you're going to criticize it here, you have to criticize Guardians of the Galaxy too, because it's the same exact thing. It's the same
Good.
exact thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's just, it all stems from sexism, Dill, and it makes me, I feel very proud that you were able to acknowledge that and point this out.
Yeah. Before we go to the next episode, I have some good news and some bad news. You ready for the good news?
Oh boy.
The good news is that Kei Kwan, aka Short Round from Indiana Jones, and Data from the Goonies, who was one of the stars of Everything Everywhere All at Once, has now been cast in Loki season 2. Very exciting, good for him. Very excited for him. He's a great actor. And Loki season 2, there's exclusive footage being shown now. I do have some bad news though.
What?
Kevin Feige says there's nothing to say about Fantastic Four today.
Oh.
So
I thought you were going to say something about Loki, like Loki season 2 is the last time we're going to see Tom Hiddleston, because I don't know what I would be able to handle something like that.
So I don't know if this is him trolling us and then he's going to be like, just kidding. But as of now, like a minute ago, there's nothing Fantastic Four coming our way. So, yeah, I'm just kind of like, it's just so funny because everyone was hyping that up.
That was going to be the big news today, and I guess not. So, Dill, this is what I wanted to talk about. I did some digging in my Marvel encyclopedia about these guys who jumped Jennifer Walters at the end of this episode before we get to the next one. Because we got a name. At first I thought I heard Thunderbolt. And I know that the Thunderbolts, it could be something that's on the horizon. So I was like, I gotta look into this. But then I watched it with subtitles and heard him say it was actually Thunderball. So I was like, let me go take a sneak peek in my Marvel encyclopedia. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's something. And lo and behold, I get to the name Thunderball, and it takes me to a page 417 to be exact. On this page, he's not his own person. He's a part of a group. This group is called the Wrecking Crew. The main guy's name is, I don't even know, Wrecker. That's his name, is the leader of this group. And he accidentally was given powers by Carmilla the Norn Queen. And essentially he gets sent to jail. He breaks out of jail with a few other buddies, and now they're this group called the Wrecking Crew. And it was a comic book accurate that the weapons that they were wielding were Asgardian, because that's what the weapons are in the comic book. So they're these like Asgardian tools or whatever. And he's known for using a crowbar to mash up his crime scene so that it hinders the investigation. So Thunderball, aka he's an ex-physician. His real name is Dr. Elliot Franklin. I don't think that this is necessary, but I just thought that these were some fun facts. But my big question after leaving this episode was, who's their boss? The boss, he did say boss is going to be mad we weren't able to get it. I'm wondering, who are they working for? So upon looking into this wrecking crew, one could easily say, oh, it might be Carmilla the Norn Queen, who gave Wrecker his powers in the comics. Nay, I think it's someone else. Dill, do you want to know who I think it is?
Who do you think it is?
I think it is Miss Julia Louis-Dreyfus herself. Miss
Ah,
Contessa
she's
Valentina
out there
Allegra
somewhere.
de Fontaine, Madame Hydra. I think
She's
that
out there.
she's, trying to do a Pokemon and Ash Ketchum. She's trying to collect them all. And she wants a Hulk on her team. So what does she do? She send out some bandits to go get some of her DNA to make a Hulk. Get a Hulk on her team, on her squad. So
Interesting.
that's my prediction.
Interesting. Yeah, because like the scene of her getting like jumped or whatever, it's like it feels so random, but I feel like it wouldn't be there unless it had something more important to say, unless it's just to make a commentary about just women alone in alleyways,
safety,
which also is a big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So moving on to episode 4, and I don't know if we have much other information coming in since Fantastic Four was going to be the big news, and they're not doing it apparently. Matt Shakman is confirmed though directing Fantastic Four. That is the guy from WandaVision. We all kind of knew that was coming because that's been teased in the news. So Matt Shakman is directing that, but we don't know the cast, and I don't think we will. But
cool.
Yeah.
So Jill, we're moving on to episode 4 now. It's titled, Is This Not Real Magic? And here's my little summary. Wong needs Jennifer's help when a magician using a sling ring poses a threat to reality. Meanwhile, Jen tries dating as the She-Hulk. I gotta be honest, Jill, this I think was my least favorite episode so far.
Really? Okay. Tell me why.
Which contradicts what I said at the beginning, which was I like that it started to feel a little bit more episodic, a little more procedural. But I don't know. I just thought that, I don't know. There's a lot of randomness happening in this episode. I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch. I'll get a definitive ranking once all 6 are out. But I don't know if I was vibing with this one that much. So after our Marvel intro, we get introduced to a seemingly failing David Blaine ripoff magician. His name is Donnie Blaze, and he's going about his regularly scheduled magic show when the audience really isn't reacting to anything. I mean, they're used to actual things falling from space and Thanos and being snapped to dust and then returned 5 years later. So I get why it's pretty hard to impress this crowd with, some card tricks and some up the sleeve close up magic nonsense. I understand why this crowd's a little tainted with their view of this show. So he brings out his best trick yet, which is a sling ring that we know Doctor Strange and Wong use. And Ned. Yeah,
And
you're
Ned
right.
leads.
And he opens up a portal. He asks for a participant from the audience, and Madison volunteers. We understand now. If you didn't know, Dill, she doesn't spell Madison a typical way. She spells Madison with 2 N's and a Y, but it's not where you think it is. And it is Madisynn, and that's our homegirl Madison.
AKA my favorite character of the series thus far. We will talk about it. I fucking love Madison.
Sure.
Like it's just perfectly written, hilarious. Like I think for a sick, I know you say this is your least favorite episode, but this actually might be one of my favorites, if not my favorite, only because I think this one nails the comedy best.
At
least in certain areas, especially with Madison, because like when you think about this show about this lawyer, this MCU lawyer doing hijinks with superheroes, like the fact that you have a character as colorful and crazy as Madison is so fun, and I just love the dynamic she brings. I just love it. So
yeah, I was rocking with Madison. I liked Madison. It's very easy for a role like this to become like really annoying and kind of like unbelievable almost, because, she's drunk the whole episode. She's just kind of this bumbling party girl. But, I think that the actor who's playing her did a good job, where she was able to not get under my skin with like being too over the top or being unbelievable, anything like that. So kudos to the actor who played Madison with a Y and not the place where you think it is. So Donnie Blaze here sends Madison to another dimension. We can see in the background there's like skulls. It looks very dark and dreary. It definitely doesn't look like a place where Madison would have a ton of fun. And now we cut to Wong having, some well-deserved alone time. He has his snacks and his cigar, and he's getting all ready to watch The Sopranos. He's watching season 5, episode 12, long-term parking. Dill, I've never watched The Sopranos.
This is the most devastating episode of television ever made. It is the saddest episode I've ever seen. The thing with this, and I know we're going to get into it, but like, she spoils the show, whatever. And I'm not going to say what the spoiler is, because some people are like, how dare you spoil Sopranos?
I've even forgotten it, to be honest with you. But I know someone dies.
People who haven't watched Sopranos aren't really going to really like take the spoiler and really drill it into their brain. They're just kind of let it go over their head. People who have watched Sopranos know exactly what they're talking about, but then there are the people who have like seen Sopranos and like want to complain about the fact that this show spoiled it. My thought is, it's been 20 years since The Sopranos. If you want to watch The Sopranos, it's a great show. If you wanted to watch it, you would have probably watched it before She-Hulk. You would have probably watched it already. And if you have 2 shows that you've never seen, one being She-Hulk and one being the literal best television show ever made, and you intend to watch both, and you're not watching The Sopranos first, like, then I'm sorry, then you can have it spoiled for you. I don't really care.
Your priorities are in the wrong place.
Yes, it's like, if your priority is She-Hulk over The Sopranos, that's fine, but then don't be complaining if they spoil The Sopranos. Like, yes, if it spoiled Succession, that's on now, like, yeah, you can be mad. But the fact that they spoiled a 20-year-old show that you've had all this time to watch, and if you ever intended on watching it and are mad because this show that came out 3 weeks ago is spoiling a show that came out 20 years that you've had 20 years to watch, like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't feel sorry for you. Yes, it's unfortunate that they spoiled it, but also, it's not the biggest spoiler of the show. It is a big spoiler, but it's like, it makes sense with what the 2 seasons before were leading to. It's a big character death, but like, I think people are just complaining for the sake of complaining. I really do. But
that's like getting mad if people say, Darth Vader's Luke's father. Like,
wait, what? I'm kidding.
Dill, I'm the one that has. I don't know anything about Star Wars, but I know that.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Like, that'd be like watching Toy Story 2 and being like, "How dare they spoil Empire Strikes Back?" And I'm like, yo, if you're mad that they spoiled Star Wars and you didn't in Toy Story 2, like, watch Star Wars before you watch Toy Story 2, or just don't be mad about it. Like, I just don't get it, because they spoil it in Toy Story 2. But
so Madison shows up to Wong's house. She falls through a portal. She's holding a human heart in her hand. Madison, what were you getting up to in that dimension? And she's like, oh, well, I was at this magic show. This guy brought me through a dimension, hung out with some demons for a little bit. Now I'm here. And Wong immediately knows what's going on. He knows the name. He knows who this person is. He's like, Donnie Blaze is going to pay for this. Oh my God. I need Jen. I need Jennifer Walters. I need a lawyer. So then we cut to Jen's house. She's just getting ready to go to work when her dad shows up. He has a bunch of equipment. He says he has a bunch of security equipment. He's carrying a shovel, which is for digging holes, and we're going to leave it at that. And, he's all up in arms to protect his daughter, who was just, attacked the other night. And she's like, I'm a Hulk. Your daughter's going to be fine. She didn't even go to the police about it. She's not super worried. And you know what? I just love the showcasing of a great dad in the MCU, because I feel like we got a lot of great ones, but then we also have some not great dads. So I just feel like good dad representation matters.
Thanos and Ego, no, but I'm thinking like
Howard.
Miss Marvel was a great dad.
Yes,
even
he
Howard,
was a great dad.
Howard wasn't a great dad, but like, that scene in Endgame just still gets to me. That when he meets his dad, like, that just always gets to me. So it's like, even then, like, that's just more complex. But yeah.
And then on the flip side, it's still in. I know you're probably tired of me bringing up feminism, but I'm not going to stop.
That's the show.
On the flip side, it's also important to showcase really strong fathers who've raised really strong women, because that is where it all stems from, right? like being raised by a great dad
That's right.
and mom
Speaking of
and
dads,
parent.
this isn't a good segue, but we did get a Daredevil Born Again logo. So there it is. Yay.
Speaking of dads,
Yeah, no, there was no segue there.
What do you mean? Speaking of dads,
Well, maybe Daredevil will have a child. Who knows? I mean, devils.
Who knows? Maybe devils can procreate too, right?
Yeah.
I actually have no idea. Not
I
religious.
don't know.
Let's
Oh, and
move
we got a
on.
new logo for Captain America: New World Orders. Yay!
Ooh.
See, like I love news. Who needs Fantastic Four when you have logos?
No, seriously. I'm sorry, Jill. I know you're probably not taking the Fantastic Four news too
No,
well.
I'm fine with it. You know, it's actually funny because a lot of people are like so up in arms about it, but I'm like, casting, like you can announce casting, but you have to have that cast locked. And sometimes people have negotiations, they have scheduling conflicts, they have contracts they can't sign yet for reasons. So if they're not ready to announce it, they're not ready to announce it. Like that's just the business. But I think people are worried because there were promises made to them. When I don't think Kevin Feige is the one who actually made those promises. I think it was TikTokers like Soups who was like, Kevin Feige's going to announce the cast of Fantastic Four. I'm like, no, it might not be true. Like there was one outlet that said John Boyega was going to join the MCU when he has specifically gone on record saying he would never do it just because he wants to make more like smaller art. He doesn't want to be roped into franchises because when you're locked into a franchise, your flexibility to go elsewhere can sometimes, vary. Like Robert Downey Jr. didn't work a lot when he was Iron Man. Now he's getting more work and it's not great work like Doolittle, but like when he was Iron Man for that whole like decade-long period, he really wasn't working elsewhere. So like Sherlock Holmes occasionally, but like Marvel, like it's a big commitment, and some actors just don't want to be roped into franchising, and I get that. Like I'm totally down for that. Like if that's how you believe. But then some TikTokers and news people want to put out misinformation. So that's what we're not going to do. We're only going to give you the information we hear at D23 as we've been doing. It's been a chaotic episode, but like let's proceed.
Yeah. So now Jen's at her office. She sets up a dating.
Sorry. I just got big info. So, Tim Blake Nelson, he's returning as the leader for Captain America New World Order as the main villain. So this is a picture of that villain, Tim Blake Nelson, who was, I believe, was he in Captain America the First Avenger? Hold on. Nelson. I forget the name of his character. Yes, he's Samuel Stearns in The Incredible Hulk. He will be returning. And, Carl Lumbly will be returning as Isaiah Bradley in Captain America New World Order. So, great to see him.
Oh, I love Isaiah Bradley.
Yes. And do you know who Tim Blake Nelson is now? He's this guy in The Incredible
I mean, I haven't seen Incredible Hulk enough to know.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, there you
go. But Isaiah, he is the grandson.
No, Isaiah's the grandfather. Like
he's the guy. Okay.
Yeah.
What's
his
Elijah?
grandson?
Is it Elijah? Is his grandson?
Elijah Bradley? Yeah, that makes sense. Yep, that sounds right.
So then we cut to Jen's back at her office. She sets up a dating profile on some sort of Tinder knockoff called Matcher, and she sets it up as Jennifer Walters. As one would. She's not the She-Hulk. Isn't her life. Jennifer Walters is. So then we have Wong who shows up. He's seeking help in taking down Johnny Blaze. And we find out why he has a sling ring. My first thought was he must have stolen it from someone, but he's actually a former student of the mystic arts. He just bailed out and was able to keep his sling ring, I guess, or stole it or something.
It's so interesting, Donnie Blaze. It sounds so close to Johnny Blaze that at first, when they first said his name, they said Johnny Blaze, and I went, oh, wait, what? Ghost Rider? Ghost Rider's in the MCU because that's the name of the Ghost Rider. And I was holy shit, Ghost Rider. But then they were like, no, Donnie. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I was like, it's just so close to Johnny Blaze that I was like, that can't be a coincidence. So, hey, maybe Ghost Rider's coming. Who knows?
I think they were trying to do like the MCU version of David Blaine. That's what I thought they were going with.
Probably. But it's like, it's just so close to Johnny Blaze. Like the fact that the last name is Blaze and Donnie and Johnny, like, that can't be a coincidence. Like you can't just write that when there's a literal main character that has not been introduced in the MCU yet, Ghost Rider, that's name is Johnny Blaze.
Maybe Donnie Blaze and Johnny Blaze are like, parallel universe versions of each other. That's
don't
I
know.
wasn't going to twins, but okay.
Danny Ramirez returning as the new Falcon in Captain America: New World Order, so he is going to stick around as the new Falcon. That's very exciting.
Oh, Joaquin?
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
I'm just reading what I see, but yes, I believe that is Joaquin. Yes, the guy we saw in Captain America and the Winter
Yeah,
Soldier.
yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Who gets the
Whatever.
wings at the end?
Yes. Yep. He's back.
So then we're back at the bar. I finally got the name of the bar in this episode. It's called Legal Ease.
Okay.
Which is, I guess that's a play on words because, lawyers and such. And a man hits on Nikki and Jen while they're just, minding their own business, trying
This
to
was
do
also
work.
so funny. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, which is also very real. And Nikki suggests that, Jen set up a profile as She-Hulk. She'd probably get a ton more matches. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. So then Jennifer and Wong go to Donnie Blaze and they give him a cease and desist, basically to stop him from inappropriately using the mystic arts. He's like, no, we can go to trial. I'm not giving up, my best act, basically. So then before the trial, Jen goes on the worst date ever. This guy like barely even listens to what she has to say. He's saying things like he's an entrepreneur, but he's really just like a deadbeat. He claims to be a New Yorker, even though he only lived there for 14 months. And then he makes her pick up the check, which I get it. I think the person who invites the other person to the outing should pick up the check. Let's just put it that way, because I'm sure, to make a Bo Burnham reference right now, everyone's a feminist until there's a spider around. Everyone's a feminist until the checkbook gets dropped. I know you're probably like, Kelsey, you would absolutely have like someone else pay for your meal, whatever. Listen, I think whoever gets invited to the outing should be the person that pays, and that's where I will leave it. Because it's very heteronormative of you to even have that argument with me, this fake argument that I'm having with a fake person. But continue.
I have to say we got some big casting news. Thunderbolts.
Oh, what I was just talking about before. Go ahead, Dill.
So here is the Thunderbolts team. You ready for them? Florence Pugh as Yelena.
Okay.
Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes. We also see the return of Ava, aka Ghost.
Cool.
We see the return of the Taskmaster.
Cool.
We see the return of Julia Louis-Dreyfus's Val.
Yeah, saw that
see
coming.
John, what's his name? John Walker, the U.S. agent.
Yeah.
And David Harbour as a Red Guardian is
nice.
Back. That's your Thunderbolts team. Very exciting. Here's a picture of them all. No Zemo. Zemo was the big one we thought we would get, but there they are. Taskmaster right there.
Well,
John
Zemo
Walker,
is back in jail.
Stan. Yeah, I know. But I mean, Valentina.
Zemo's in Wakanda. Yeah. But, wow, that was big. I love how this episode is just me in like feminist rants intermediate.
This would have been such a great episode to just like get down to the core of feminism, but like also like all this news is coming out at once. I'm like, I feel bad because it's like it's so much.
Yeah, it's definitely it's gonna feel good releasing it, on Monday opposed to like a week from now or today, if you will, since you're listening on Monday. Yes. So anyway, that's my rant about who should pick up the check when you go on a first date. I will say, never mind. That's not for here nor there. So now we're at the trial of Donnie Blaze. They call Madison to the stand as a witness to, prove that what he's doing is in fact harmful. He's sending people to other dimensions. It's just not great stuff. She comes in, she calls Wong. She has a cute little nickname for him. She calls him Wongers.
Wongers. That was so good. Like, I love this friendship. Like, it's just so cute because it's like so unconventional. She's so here and he's so there.
Yeah.
I love it though. Like, I ship it.
Oh, that's adorable, Dill. So she gets put on the stand and she's talking about her experience. She was like, well, first I was brought to a dimension that was full of demons. I had to like basically sell my soul to get out of there. The demon's name was Jake, which I will say Jake. That's not a very demonic name. I don't really know about that. But I guess maybe it's a commentary on how most guys with J names are not very nice people. Wow. It's
I think
probably not.
I think you might be projecting a little bit of
Maybe
your own
I'm
personal.
Maybe I'm projecting a little bit.
um,
That is a common. That is not just specific to me. That is like a common thing that all girls go
oh, I
through.
know.
But I think that
I'm
the
aware.
worst
I have a lot
name.
of close friends that have J's in their lives. My brother's a J, so like I just stick up for
I
them
know.
sometimes. And
I
my
just
brother's a
thought of
delight.
Jake
Um,
and not to, Jake's a lovely human being, not to
thank you,
bash him, but
thank you.
I think
But
the
no, I'm
worst
with
name
you.
you could have is Josh, according to Girlhood. If you're a
Really?
Josh, you've definitely screwed many a woman over in your life. Um, and
Yeah, I
that's all
mean
I have
there
to
have been some bad Joshes in Bachelor history too. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's just a very like douchey frat guy name.
Mhm.
Uh but at the end of the day, Madison says that she had a lot of fun, and sometimes it got spooky, but it was in a fun way. So pulling Madison on the stand actually ended up biting them in the ass. Who could have seen that coming? Um and the judge basically says that she's going to have her decision in a few weeks. Jennifer tries to make it so while the judge is, making this decision that Donnie Blaze stop practicing magic and stop doing a show, but because it's his livelihood, it's his passion, the judge says that he should be able to still do magic. I'll get back to you with a decision. So we haven't tied this plot up quite yet. So then it's a Friday night. It's a big night for Jen, so she decides to make a dating profile as the She-Hulk, and she ends up getting a ton more matches, just as Nikki predicted. We cut to a whole dating montage. The first guy sucks. He just wants to know how much he can bench, and then he starts bragging about how much he can. He starts being rude to the wait staff, which is red flag number one.
Yeah.
If you
Oh,
don't know
awful.
how to be respectful to servers, people working in the service
And
industry,
hosts. And hosts.
and hosts, I would never forget about the host still.
And bartenders.
You're just a despicable human
Yeah.
being.
It's funny because
uh
like I think this montage was like the perfect balance of the feminism and the comedy. Because I think it was actually very funny because of all her
yes, I
reactions,
agree.
but it was also very strong feminist commentary as well. So that's why I like this episode so much. I think it was a great blend of comedy and message.
The next guy is the classic artist trope. He's a
Oh,
director.
Sundance, yeah.
Like he's
Premiered
wearing a
at Sundance,
scarf and a
lawyer
hat.
movie. I'm like,
Like,
gee.
thank you. Next, we move on to the next guy, which he's a little bit of a weirdo. He really wants to talk about her powers, what her abilities are. He asks if anything can penetrate her skin, namely vibranium. Kind of sketchy, being that there were some guys in the last episode trying to penetrate her skin. I don't know if these two events are related, but I'm just pointing that out there. All right. That's all I'm
Honestly,
gonna
I
say.
feel awful, but as soon as I said that, I thought he was like it was a sexual innuendo he was getting
It
at.
could have been that as well,
But then he started talking about
but
vibranium, and I was like, ah, no, no, because I mean,
I
no, never mind. I'm not
I
gonna
think
do
it
it.
was I think it
We've
might have
talked too
been
much about the sex
partially
lives of Hulks.
I and all the Avengers truly. We're talking about all the sex lives are on the table.
All right, just
But
letting
I
you know, the
think
final part of the Marvel presentation is going to be the Marvels. It's coming up next. So, like, yeah, Fantastic Four is definitely not happening right now. But the Marvels is going to leak some info, but that's it for now.
cool. I love to hear about some news about my girl Kamala Khan and
Yeah, I'll let you know
Carol
in just a few
Danvers.
minutes.
So I think, Dill, it might have been half sexual innuendo. I just couldn't help but think about, but then there were people last episode trying to do the exact same thing that he's talking about. So I don't know. Maybe it's a red herring. Maybe the two events are related.
Right.
The last guy she meets rules. He's a doctor for children with cancer. He's very attractive. He looks like he can, hold his own with a She-Hulk, if you know what I mean. And he's like, you know what? Let's just like split some fries. And that's every girl's dream is just someone to
Splitting some
split
fries.
some when you're drunk and if anyone ever looks at me and is like, hey, fries, I'm in love. Like immediately. That's the easiest way to a girl's heart is food, I think. So she's like, we're gonna get those to go. Like immediately she wants to take this home. So we cut back to Donnie's magic show. He's doing his funny little tricks with the sling ring, and he releases a portal that he opens up a portal that releases a bunch of demons that are flying around. So he has to go to Wong for help to help him close the portal, get rid of the demons, and all that jazz. And unfortunately, Wong does have to interrupt Jen's date with the hot doctor man. To get the situation under control. So she's like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And Wong's like, be a Hulk. So she just starts chucking these guys, trying to stomp them, smash them, as you will.
This was so Harry Potter for me. Like, this was so Harry Potter with all the little things flying around. Like, this was like straight from the Wizarding World. Yeah. This reminded me of that. I was like, wow. Like, Chad, the guy who does Picture This With Me, he's on draft day in Marvel Trivia. Like, he's a big Harry Potter stan. I know he was going to get a kick out of this. I was like, he's going to love this. And so is Zach. Like, those are the two biggest Potter nerds I know. I was like, oh, they're gonna love this.
What are those things called? They're called
I don't know.
Maybe
they'll tell us. So Chad and Zach, if you're watching, please comment below. Yeah, that was so fun.
Yes, it was very reminiscent of Harry Potter, Dill. I agree. So eventually they start chucking these things into another dimension. It looks very snowy. Reminded me of where Stephen Strange is in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. There it is. And while she's like, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone right now. I'm going to use one of these demons to threaten Donnie into accepting our cease and desist, which he does because he doesn't want to get his, face eaten off by a demon dog bird thing. So then Jen returns to her date. She has a lovely night, I'm assuming. She wakes up the next morning. She's making freshly juiced orange juice. She's got eggs and bacon on the table. She turns on the news to find out that Titania, the woman that she fought in the first episode, is getting released from prison. And she's just in regular Jen form because that's just her everyday life. Yeah. And Mr. Dr. Man walks out and is like, oh, well, I didn't really want Jen version of you. I wanted She-Hulk version of you.
That annoyed me so much.
So he dips. He ends up being an ass just like the rest of them. It's brutal out here, Dill.
Yeah, that was
brutal out
bad.
here.
Because also, like, she's adorable. Not just like looks wise, but just the way she like carries herself as Jen. It's
I know.
Sweet. It's endearing, and I'm like, damn, that guy sucks. Again, like it's like the promising young woman thing of like every guy, even the great ones, end up being shitheads, and it's like, why can't we just have a normal? I don't know. At least like she made you breakfast. At least just stay for breakfast. Like it's a free meal.
Who doesn't want
that spread? It looked so
fresh,
good. Like
freshly juiced orange juice. Come on, who's getting that every day?
Just an FYI, Marvel has wrapped their segments. So
wait, so what was the news with Miss Marvel?
Oh, they just showed exclusive footage. So like that's the thing is with the D23 thing, when you're in person, you get a lot more exclusive stuff. They will usually come out in like 2 or 3 weeks in actual internet form, but some of them go straight to the internet. It's like Secret Invasion trailer, Werewolves Within trailer went straight to Twitter, so we can watch those after this. But some of them, including the Marvels, Wakanda Forever, Quantum Mania, all that stuff is secluded to that event, because you have to make the price of the ticket worthwhile. But that's it. So for the news, we have more to talk about She-Hulk in just a sec, but like that's it for the news. So no Fantastic Four, no X-Men. Fans are going to be really pissed, but I think we got a lot of good info still. Like we got a lot of great teasers. I think Thunderbolts is like the biggest thing that we got probably, and the werewolves thing. But a lot of people were like, we're going to find out Fantastic Four today. We're going to find out X-Men. And I'm like, that's what you want. That's what you hope. But Kevin Feige never promised it. So that's all I'll say.
So did we end this episode with Jennifer getting served? She's getting sued by Titania for using the phrase She-Hulk on TV while she was getting interviewed, because apparently Titania, the FBI works hard, Titania works harder. She copyrighted the phrase She-Hulk. So Jennifer can't even use the name that she didn't even give herself. The media gave it to her, and now she's not even allowed to use it.
Yeah, horrible.
So now we have yep. So now we cut to our lovely post-credit scene with Madison and Wong. They're talking alcohol. They're watching This Is Us. I put a question
Yeah.
mark because I've
Yes,
never
yes.
watched that either.
Oh,
But I
Kels,
saw
you got it.
I saw Mandy Moore, and I assumed that it was got to be This Is Us, because that's the big thing she's doing right now. And they're, Madison is interviewing Wong on all the alcoholic drinks he's had, Manhattans, Long Island iced teas, all that jazz. And he was like, "Oh," she's like, "Do you ever drink vodka straight?" And he's like, "Oh, but I've had vodka with yak milk." And she's like, "Oh," Madison's like, "I'd really be interested in trying that." And then we find out, just as the episode ends, that Wong's favorite cocktail is a nice gin and tonic, which I think, Dill, should now be a part of when we try a bunch of MCU foods, just because I want an excuse to. I've never had a gin and tonic, so I'd love to try one.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, it's not MCU specific, but
No, but it's
not ice
Wong's
cream
favorite
pizza.
drink.
All right,
No,
there
it
you
is
go.
for sure.
We'll
It
drink a
is,
gin and tonic, and we'll have some non-alcoholic beverage on the
and
side to advocate for those who watch us and are not able to partake.
sure, some water. Stay
Yeah,
hydrated.
That's it. That's the end.
And
of
those were 2 episodes, Jill.
Yeah. I know I was very distracted by all the news, but I think, Kelsey, this was an episode where I wanted you to take the reins because there is so much feminist approach to the show. Do I think the effects are great? I actually don't. That's why I actually think Jennifer is much better than She-Hulk, and the fact that, like, just She-Hulk herself, the visuals, I'm not still on board with, but I think the writing gets across what it needs to. I like the fact that it's a sitcom. It doesn't take itself as seriously in terms of the overarching Marvel canon franchise thing. It's just kind of acting as its own thing within the franchise, which I like. It's kind of just a breath of fresh air, and I think there are flaws, but the flaws are definitely not as noticeable, or not as, the flaws don't overwhelm the good stuff about it. And that's what I like about it. And yes, it has crazy discourse online. So I hope you were able to listen to Kelsey's experience, because she had a lot of insightful stuff to share to at least get where we're coming at. Last bit of news. I do have last bit of news. Goose is coming back for the Marvels. Goose is coming back. That's a good way to end this podcast.
Live, laugh, love Goose.
We got so much info, and I know this episode was so scattershot, but thank you all for bearing with us as we were trying to cover all the ins and outs. I mean, there was so much to talk about. Any last words, Kelsey, on any of the news we heard today on these episodes?
Nothing. I've just been really enjoying She-Hulk. Thank you, Jill, for the insight today. Usually, I'd be coming in blind and you would know everything and tell me everything. So I was happy to learn all the information right alongside you.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I had a great time talking feminism with you today.
We're almost at a half hour, so you could just follow us down there. We've said it on every episode. If you want to hear us actually say our handles or Twitter handles, you could just go to previous episodes. But thank you all for watching. What is your most excited news you heard today? Let us know in the comments. And if Chad and Zach are listening, please tell us what the names of those little creatures in Chamber of Secrets are, because that was fun. We'll be back for She-Hulk episode 5 next time. See y'all later.